If you are not a business owner, there has not been a singular minute of your waking existence that you have had control of. Elementary, middle, high school, college, the workforce, you are told where to be, when to be there, how to be there, when to leave, and when to come back again. You never had control of your schedule. So the only way to have control of your life and schedule is to have ownership. Building a company is the hardest thing to do. So you are sales, you are marketing, you are fulfillment, you are tax, you are legal, you are everything. You're wearing 90 different hats and you have to get good enough to be dangerous in each and every one of them. That 2.5 years spent building these companies from scratch. You're telling me I can just go freaking buy one. The way that you know you're ready for something is when you say that you're not, because you don't learn until you do it. Right? You don't know how to change a tire until you actually have a flat tire. And then you go YouTube it and you can figure out how to change a tire, right? People are way more qualified to buy a business than they think.
Welcome back to another episode of the Austin Zaback Show. Today, your host, obviously, Austin Zaback, but we've got a special guest today. Today's guest was one of the top sales reps in a Fortune 500 company, but he walked away from that six-figure career to pursue a life of intentional entrepreneurship. Brian is now a real estate investor, the founder of the Action Academy, which is a podcast and community that empowers people to break free from the 9-to-5 grind and builds lives they don't need a vacation from. Also, Brian is in the business of buying businesses. And as we sit here today, Brian is currently about to purchase a business. I'm sure we'll be able to talk about that a little bit. Brian, I appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, man. At the end of the day, what I'd like to start off with is kind of like a general framing for why people should listen to the show for the next 40 minutes. Because each podcast that we do is people taking time away from their friends, their family, from their commute to listen to us. And so what you're going to get today is the fact that this employment is essentially a contract that we sign, right? So we sign this on the dotted line and we say, okay, Mr. Corporation, Mrs. Corporation, I'm going to take time away from my friends, my family, myself, and my life to give to you to advance your goals. And in exchange, all I ask for is security.
Yep.
Today, in 2025, that security and that contract is no longer, working on each side. So everyone's signing their lives away for 40 to 50 to 60 years, but we're not receiving that security back because we're seeing mass layoffs. We're seeing companies get bought, companies go under, change the management, you're gone.
Yep.
So what used to be considered risky was to be an investor in real estate and in business, or to start a business, to buy a business. And now I would actually argue that it's risky to only have one source of income dependent on your corporate job. So now here we are today in kind of the acquisition economy and the freelance economy and the side hustle economy, where it's never been easier than ever before to literally make millions of dollars per year. You yourself, like today.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to talk about today.
Really cool, Brian. Yeah. Let's just get right into the nuts and bolts of it. How many companies do you currently own?
Right now, we currently own 6.
Okay.
We're projecting to do 9 million top line this year on the low end, and then we're projecting to hopefully hit 11 million top line by the end of the year.
Super cool.
Yeah.
What was the first company that you bought when you walked away from your corporate job?
So when I first walked away, I started a company. So I actually began through building companies and building businesses. So I built a 6-figure company that was an affiliate business off of my podcast. Then I built the community, Action Academy, which was a 7-figure company, and that will be an 8-figure company next year. And then we built a travel and events company on top of all of that. So I built 6, 7, and 7. And so I started companies from scratch first. And it is the hardest thing to do. And that's something I want to talk to you about in your show as well. But building a company is the hardest, because what you're doing is and we bootstrapped as well. So you are sales, you are marketing, you are fulfillment, you are tax, you are legal, you are everything.
Yeah.
You're wearing 90 different hats and you have to get good enough to be dangerous in each and every one of them. Then a few years ago, I discovered this idea. I'm like, wait a second. She's saying all that hard work that I just put, that 2.5 years spent building these companies from scratch, you're telling me I can just go freaking buy one.
Right.
And I'm like, I could just walk in day one and buy millions of dollars of revenue, millions of dollars of profit, already years of trailing financials, years of trailing growth, and I could just do that day one. So one of the first ones that we purchased this last year was a kitchen hood cleaning company.
Wow.
And now I'm buying another kitchen hood cleaning company that's actually adjacent.
Okay.
So I know it may not sound like the sexiest thing, but at the end of the day, you want to have the non-sexy vehicle that's producing the sexy return.
Yeah.
right? That's where the sweet spot is, because you're in real estate, like, and you're in media and all this stuff. It's not always necessarily the sexiest. And you don't need to be Elon Musk. You don't need to be Bezos. You don't need to be Warren Buffett. You just need to be somebody that is up and down the street buying these companies, because this is the single greatest wealth generation opportunity that I believe will exist in our lifetime.
I completely agree.
Are these baby boomers that are retiring, and everybody asks the question, why do they want to sell their companies that are already profitable, that are doing millions of dollars? And it's because their kids want to do TikTok dances. Like, they don't want to take over the company. And here's what I want to say to everybody that may be listening to this, and they're like, I'm not in private equity. I don't have a millionaire uncle. I don't have these mentors. I don't know if I can do this, Brian. And I will say to you that these sellers on the other side of the phone, this is their first time selling a company. While it's at the same time your first time buying a company. They're not these sophisticated bankers. They are literally John, Jim, and Pam that were dumb enough to believe in themselves 20 years ago, and they saw a need in the market, and they built a concrete company, a plumbing company, an HVAC company, and in my case, a company that cleans freaking kitchen hoods. You go into a commercial kitchen, they've got the fryers, and then the grease shoots up into the air and it gets sucked up in a vent. It's a federal law to clean those. And I bought the company that cleans them.
Wow.
It's like stupid simple.
Yep.
But that's what we do now. And now we help other people do that as well, because we just have a formula, a framework, and it's just step by step how you can find deals, fund deals, underwrite deals, manage deals, and take it all the way through to the finish line.
Super cool.
And I think it's what excites me the most in today's economy.
Yeah.
And then take all that money, pour it into real estate, and then that's where you get the tax advantages.
Totally, yeah, and have both, right? Have the companies and have the real estate. You know, I mean, you look at Donald Trump, right? Love him or hate him, he's a businessman and he's a real estate guy, right? At the end of the day, and a lot of people are like that, right? You see Grant Cardone, you see, I could just go on and on and on. Chris Crone, right? Patrick Bet-David owns a bunch of real estate. He owns a bunch of businesses, and I really do believe that is kind of the then you maybe throw a little bit of money into crypto or the stock market or something to diversify a little bit. I mean, you really have everything in your portfolio, right?
Yeah. Business is the best way to build wealth, and then real estate's the best way to scale wealth.
Yep.
I truly believe.
And keep wealth, potentially.
Keep wealth.
Yeah, because of the tax benefits and the write-offs and everything that go along with it.
Correct.
I want to talk a little bit about the hood cleaning company, because I find it fascinating, and I think a lot of people probably listening will too. Walk me through the process, like day one, of you deciding, hey, I want to buy a company, a pre-existing company. Like you talk about having that aha moment, right? Of like, oh my gosh, like I could just buy a company, that is already existing. Where did you find that company? Like, where was it on a website? Was it a referral? Like, how did you even come across it? And then what was that process like of negotiating your first deal with them and actually acquiring that initial hood cleaning company?
Absolutely. So what we'll do is we'll kind of break things down into frameworks and lessons in each one of these sections so that people can follow along as we tell the story. So the question that you're asking is, how do you find a business? First off, we can kind of go find, then fund, then negotiate, all the way to getting an LOI accepted, and then you're going through diligence, right?
Cool.
So the way to find a deal is basically simple. There's two different ways, just like real estate: on market, off market. Everyone knows Zillow. You can go to bizbuysell, bizbuysell.com. That is essentially the Zillow for real estate. It's essentially the MLS for real estate, for businesses.
Yep.
Yeah. So we found this one actually not through BizBuySell, but through off market. So that's on market. And then off market is going to be going to your local network, your local community. Facebook groups are big for us. So we found this one through a Facebook group.
Wow.
Yeah. So you literally have groups and Facebook pages that are literally for sale by owner. And it's all these Facebook users that are saying, hey, I'm 60 years old. I want to retire and I want to get rid of this company. Like, what should I do? And so one of our members actually found the deal. And so he found it off market through that, and he started negotiating it. And even though it was off market, we are doing what's called the SBA. So SBA is the formal, think about it like a mortgage on a business. It's a government-based loan, and that's the formal way to buy a business. So you're going to put 10% down, 90% of it funded by the government, right? So again, to your point about real estate and business, the tax code is like a book of 8,000 pages.
It's stupid.
And 98% of those pages are saying what you should do to not pay taxes instead of what not to do to pay taxes. And so the entire book is telling you, here's all the ways that we want you to buy businesses and buy real estate.
Yep.
So the tax code is an incentive to drive behavior. So we're looking at this through the SBA and we're like, okay, cool. We could buy this business 10% down. That first one I think was $900,000. So we get this one for $900,000. That's $90,000 down. And we say, okay, cool. So we reach out to the owner. We negotiate the deal. And then so that's one way you can do it. It's through the SBA. The other way you can do it is through seller financing. So seller financing is where the owner becomes the bank. And then you're having a conversation, you and the owner directly, and you're creating price, duration, and terms. So it's either your price, my terms, or my terms, your price.
Yep.
And then you're negotiating that just like real estate. So it's either one of those options. It's like kind of pick your own adventure. So the pros and cons of each. The pros of SBA, if I was getting started, I've bought businesses from both different directions. The pros of using SBA are it's a government program, so you're going to have more underwriting on the deal.
Sure.
Like you have so many eyeballs on the deal that the government and these agencies are not going to let you buy a crap deal.
Right.
They are going to underwrite the crap out of it. The cons are it's going to take forever. The SBA is so slow. And I'm on the receiving end of this as we're buying a competitor in that same market to absorb into the company that we bought before. And we're doing that one through the SBA as well. And it's delayed, right? So that's the downside. So the upside and the downside, the pros and the cons of seller financing, the pros are it's as fast as you want it to be. You can negotiate your terms however you want. You can negotiate your down payment. You can negotiate your duration. You can negotiate everything.
Yep.
The cons are you're not getting that extra layer of underwriting. So the thing when it comes to a non-listed business is their financials are not going to be as polished.
Sure.
The processes are not going to be as polished because they didn't take it to a broker to list. So there's a lot more risk, but there's a lot more reward.
Right.
If I was getting started, what I would recommend to somebody that's listening to this, that's watching to this, go get you a business that's listed by a broker, and you're going to go put 10% down, finance 90% of it.
Yep.
Don't try to get too creative on your first deal. You can negotiate some seller financing into the deal through SBA still. You can do a little bit of both. We can talk about that in a second and why that's advantageous for the buyer and the seller. But at the end of the day, just do it as simple as possible to get a base hit.
Sure.
And another big tip that I give to people is don't go buy a small business. The biggest mistake a small business owner or a small business investor can make is thinking like a small business owner or thinking like a small business investor. You want a small business owner to think like a big business owner with systems, processes, and teams. So it takes just as much energy and effort to buy a crappy small deal as it does to buy a well-run good deal. And what does a good deal look like? So we look between $1 to $3 million purchase price, between $1 to $3 million of revenue, because this is beneath private equity, and $1 million of revenue per year means that they have at least some track record and they have some systems and enough margin to hire people. What we see a lot is people are trying to buy these $300,000, $200,000, $400,000 businesses, and they think that it's a screaming deal, just like they think in real estate.
Yep.
A $300,000 piece of real estate versus a $3 million piece of real estate. They're like, I can't afford the $3 million. I'm doing the $300K.
Yep.
Do the opposite in business. So I'll pause there. That was a lot.
That was amazing, by the way. Absolutely phenomenal. I feel like I could go 18 different directions with what you just said, right? So
that's just finding the deal.
It's amazing. Yeah. We're talking about finding the deal. So now, what are red flags that you've kind of seen over the last handful of years that you would tell somebody, hey, be on the lookout for this. Like if you see this red flag, run. All
right. How much time do we got? All right. Cool. So. Well, if I could focus on maybe 5 red flags to look out for when you're buying your first small business, because again, it is critically important that we do not buy ourselves another job.
Yep.
So the first red flag that you look out for is every single seller of a business is going to tell you how passive they are. They're going to tell you how little they work. But what they say and what they do are 2 completely different things. So a way that people get burned is an example of this. I have what's called Keyman risk in my company. So Keyman risk is number 1, which is the business is dependent on the owner. So for me, I can say, man, we do, $2 to $5 million a year with 0 marketing. But I'm doing the marketing.
Right.
So what's my salary if I were to replace me and bring in someone that's doing what I do in marketing? if that makes sense. That may be a $250,000 salary, a $250,000 position. But guess where that's not at? On the P&L.
Right.
So this is the biggest thing is Keyman risk. So you've got an employee, an owner that the business is dependent on. So here's a way to see not what the owner's saying, but what the numbers are saying.
Yeah.
You look at the P&L and you look at the profit, and if the profit and the revenue is declining over the trailing 3 years, and the owner says these words, oh, that's just because I took my foot off the gas to sell the company. You know, I'm working less, I'm hanging out with my kids more so I can sell the company. And a rookie business buyer would say, oh, that makes sense. That I would think the same.
Right.
I look at that and I'm like, this is a job, it's not a business. Because if it's a good business, it would still be growing without the owner's involvement.
Sure.
So that's number one. Number two is key customer risk.
Okay.
So, or customer concentration risk. So if you have 1 to 2 to 3 big contracts, big customers that are your only customers, and you have like 80% of your concentration on just 3 contracts, don't buy the business.
Right.
Because I guarantee you day one, each one of those companies is going to come to you and guess what they're going to be doing?
Yep.
Time to renegotiate. And you don't know how to do that. So they're going to take you to the freaking woodshed, dude.
Yep.
And like, you're toast.
If you lose one, you lose 40% of your revenue.
Bingo.
Yep.
So you've got what I call I got this from Hormozy. It's sharks and minnows. So sharks are like the big accounts and then minnows are the small accounts. It's okay to have big accounts.
Yeah.
Just for each shark, make sure that you have like 10 minnows.
Great analogy.
So that it's balanced out. So you want your customers balanced out across accounts.
Sure.
So that's a huge thing that we look for. Another one that you can look at is industry risk. So right now I was looking at a construction company that specialized in multifamily development.
Okay.
Not something that I'm going to buy right now. Because I don't like how multifamily is trending today.
Yep.
And it's just not something with all this turbulence in the market that I want to get just because of the industry. Another example of this that may land home is if somebody was to buy a newspaper business.
Yeah.
You know, who's reading a newspaper?
Yeah.
You could buy
What are the odds in the next 10 years?
You could buy the best newspaper company in the world, but
Right.
like what happens next,
Yeah.
right? Let's see. Another one, so that's key employee risk. So this is a big one. So each company that you're going to buy, for the most part, will have some key employee risk because we hear about the operator, right? And so a lot of the times you have somebody that's in there that's an office manager, a VP of ops, a director or manager that's running the actual day-to-day of the company.
Sure.
So there's always going to be an element of key employee risk, which is if your employee leaves, the whole business shuts down. So how we look around this are the systems built for the position or for the person? So we run what's called EOS. So we're looking to make sure that all the SOPs are built around the position of operations director, not Kathy.
Right.
Because, Kathy does things this way. No, we don't want to do that. Also, red flag. If the family members are working at the company of the owner, don't buy the company. They're going to leave.
Right.
They're not going to stay. And I would say the last one for people to pay attention to would be, let me say, like the financial risk, there's always going to be like a financial audit. But I mean, we can just say like financial, like the data room risk.
Yeah.
So they just don't have a clean data room.
Sure.
To which each one of these is not binary. Like they're not necessarily all deal killers, but it's to what degree are they a deal killer?
Right.
And you can negotiate your price based off of each one of those 5 factors. So if I see someone that's got some key employee risk or data room risk or an industry risk, I may take a multiple off of that company and say, hey, like you're asking for a 4, I'm going to give you a 3 and here's why.
Yeah.
And that's super important because companies are sold on multiples of profit.
Sure.
So if you're buying a company for $200,000 of profit and it's a 5x multiple, which means it's a pretty packaged business and it's operating well, it'd be $1 million purchase. So if they had any of these risks, that I can negotiate and say, I'm going to give you a 3x or a 4x multiple for maybe 600 to 800,000 because this, and this. Sure.
Let's talk about the multiple factor and the math equation that somebody would have to do to buy a business, right? I mean, I know a lot of people that have sold their companies. I've got a buddy, I won't say his name, who just sold a company for 9 figures, and I want to say he sold at like a 17x EBITDA, right?
It's gnarly.
Big company though, they were doing, 30, 35 million a year. So anyways, and I could be wrong about that, but my question for you is, how, does it depend on the industry? Like what are the variables that would change that would determine what somebody should pay as a multiple of profit on a business if they're watching?
Yeah, so those are what the 5 that I just listed are what are called multiple detractors, equity detractors. There's also equity like adders.
Yeah.
So multiple adders. So what you would look for that would increase the valuation of your company and leverage that you can pull as the business owner to come in day one and say, okay, cool, here's what we're going to do to increase the valuation of this company. Yep. So recurring revenue. A dollar of recurring revenue is worth $3 of static one-off revenue.
Wow.
So if you have a plumbing company, for example, and you have these one-off contracts and you're able to just go to your current customer base and offer them something recurring, now you're a stickier, more predictable business. That recurring revenue will increase the valuation of your company. If you're technology enabled, that's a big fancy one for when you get to the high like multiples, but you basically have your own software, you have your own technology in the business. That's another one. Team, like systems, you have your systems really strong, you have your team really strong, it's very well packaged, you have a very clean data room, and you can prove that the business is operational without you. So a good rule of thumb for most people to make this not as complicated, and then I'll talk about how you can generate millions and millions and millions of dollars doing this, because this is the private equity game. When you think of Blackstone, you think of BlackRock, you think of the big boys and girls, this is what they're doing, but it's also freaking available to you. And people just don't realize this. It's the greatest wealth generation vehicle that exists. So right now, most people will buy a company between a 3 to a 5x multiple.
Okay.
Sometimes around a 2, but for the most part, 3 to 5 is a good ballpark. It does depend on industry. It depends on popularity.
Sure.
Laundromats and car washes used to be like the redheaded stepchild, but now they're popular. So now just because of the popularity and the passivity of them, we have all these investors flooding to them, which means that there's more interest and more demand. Therefore, the multiple increases.
Right.
So a lot of these laundromats, car washers are selling for a 4 or a 5x multiple.
Dang.
So for me, what I'm looking at, I'm normally about the same. Most of the companies that we've bought are a 4 or a 5x. We're buying an Alaska tourism company.
Okay.
For 1.9. And that one's $500K in profit, so that's a 4x multiple.
Okay.
Just to do math. So I want to talk very quickly about what this means for the person that's buying the company, because people don't understand how wealth jumps work. So in the beginning, it's like level 1 of wealth jumps is I save money, I have that as my net worth, right? So I've got $100,000 in cash, $100,000 net worth. Level 2 of the game is I buy a house or stocks and I can participate in appreciation. So now you have assets that appreciate over time with debt pay down, et cetera. Number 3 is a lot of what you've done in the past with either like wholesaling, or you can do what's called like BRRRR, value add, and you're forcing appreciation. So first is natural appreciation, then it's forced appreciation. So you're doing that through residential property. Level 4 of the game is now you're doing that through commercial property. So you're taking a property at a cap rate, you're adding NOI to it, and then you're able to multiply that by the cap rate and generate wealth. So an example of this is a friend of mine buys a storage facility at a 10 cap. He adds $100,000 of net operating income to that storage facility over 18 months. That generates $1 million of equity at that 10 cap. In the same amount of time it took somebody to BRRRR the property. Right. And now in business is the greatest of all of them. This is why private equity plays here, because in business, I could buy a company for, let's make it easy math. So let's say I buy it for $1 million at a 5x multiple of profit, which is $200,000 of profit. So for me, I look at a company like that, I'm like, well, if we just double the profit to $400,000, just adding $200,000 of profit, it's not that difficult to do. That would increase the valuation by another $1 million.
Right. You make $1 million if you were to sell.
So it's just like, and it gets even sexier, because then what you can do is we're doing what's called bolt-ons. So we're buying that first kitchen hood cleaning company. Now we're taking this other one in the market for 1.6. We're putting them together, and then that's now like so much more profit that you're bolting on. And then once you get to a larger amount of profit, then and you have a better packaged business, you can increase the multiple. So if we took that we've got that $1 million business for a 5x multiple, 200K profit, we doubled the profit to 400, and we also added a equity multiple on it. So now it's a 6x multiple. So that's a 2.4 million.
Right.
And so it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
So the name of the game for people is the process is you want to buy a company that's probably doing $300,000 to $500,000 in profit, which is called SDE. And when we buy these companies, we either want to grow those companies to at least $1 million in profit, or we just buy other companies to absorb into those, what are called bolt-ons.
Sure.
And then that grows the profit through acquisition. Once you get to $5 million in profit, your multiple goes from like a 3 to 5 to like an 8 to 12 to 17, like your friend said.
Yeah.
$5 million in profit is where the big boys and girls start coming to buy.
Yep.
And so for me and my company in Action Academy, the one that I own 100% of, like my company, like right now we're doing we'll probably do 2 million in profit this year. So I'm not even going to put a multiple or evaluation on it until we're at 5.
Yeah.
And at that point, I could pick my head up and say, oh, cool, there's $30 million on my balance sheet.
Sure.
But I'll pause there because there's a bunch of parts that we could probably pick apart there.
Yeah. There's one thing in particular, like we go right out of the gate. Like, how popular is it? So I have another buddy who, and I won't say his name, but he'll know I'm talking about him. But he just recently bought either 3 or 4 poop cleaning companies, like dog poop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
So you're familiar with that industry, right?
That's a shitty business.
Yeah, it's a shitty business. So he bought 3 or 4 of them. And he's just merging them all together. Like, he's just bringing it all under one name, one brand, one everything, right? All the accounts, because it's a subscription-based, company. And so he, let's say Nancy had 400 poop clients and John had 300. So he's bringing them all together. Now he's got one company with 1,200, right?
Boom.
Subscription. How popular is that strategy? Like, is that something that you teach? Like, hey, go out there and buy a plumbing. I mean, you're doing it obviously with the hood cleaning company, right?
Yeah, that's level 301 of the game. So that is literally the private equity playbook. So what we're doing right here on this podcast is we're taking the private equity playbook that nobody understands, and we're making it accessible to everyone.
Right.
Because what private equity does is they take what's called segmented markets and they consolidate them. They make wealth through consolidation. So an example of this is my friend Brian. His name is Brian Beers. He's a franchise guy. So he buys like Midas, like tire shops, like automotive shops. So you could have 20 different tire shops around your local market, right? 20 different ones. And when you buy like one brand or you start one brand and then you start accumulating all these other brands, you bring them in-house. And then you have one management team that runs all of them. You have one brand, one umbrella that runs all of them. You have one set of books for all of them. You have one P&L for all of them. All of a sudden,
you cut costs.
You've cut costs. You're vertically integrated. You've got economies of scale. You have centralized management. You have centralized processes. And that 5-year play, all of a sudden you take these, let's say you do five businesses. Say you buy 5 businesses over 5 years, 1 business a year, 1 acquisition. At the end of that 5 years, you could package all that up and sell that for $20 to $40 million.
Yeah, totally.
Cash.
Right.
In your bank account.
Yep.
And so the big thing that we talk about, like that's level 300 of the strategy, right? But the main thing for us is the problem that we want to solve today is the problem that people want to leave corporate America.
Yeah.
Because the contract that they signed up, that security contract is no longer being upheld by their side, right? So our thing is, hey, someone comes to me and they say, I want to replace $10,000 a month so I can quit my job, travel the world. I've got a wife, I got a kid, I've got a dog and a half, right? And they just want freedom. They want to be able to go from employee to entrepreneur. They want to be their own boss and control their schedule. Because Austin, there's a crazy idea that nobody realizes, and that is if you are not a business owner, there's not been a singular minute of your waking existence that you have had control of. When you were born, elementary, middle, high school, college, the workforce, you were told where to be, when to be there, how to be there, when to leave, and when to come back again.
Yeah.
You never had control of your schedule. So the only way to have control of your life and schedule is to have ownership, to have equity. And that's what our people want. So we do help them do it through commercial real estate. So we do like hotels, multifamily, storage, mobile home, and then raw land as well. Mm-hmm. But what we've noticed is with success from our people, we got over like 400 members right now. Buying a business is the only path that I have found where you can replace a 6-figure position in corporate within 12 months.
Crazy.
Because we all started, like you probably, back in bigger pockets where you're like, I buy a house a year.
Yeah.
And you get $200 of cash flow, but nobody does the math on that and realizes that $200 of cash flow per rental property, you need $2.5 million of invested equity to pull that off for 20% down to each one of these properties, and you need 50 of them.
Right. Yeah, if not more.
So
depending on your lifestyle.
Yeah, so we just had a guy, like I can name a million of these stories. We just had a guy that bought a short-term rental management company, and he replaced a $300,000 income.
Wow.
From buying that. Take home. Something important that I want to say here, and I'll pause, is for somebody that is looking at profit or what is reflected as SDE on a business deal versus the amount that they want to take home, a good rule of thumb, 2 to 1.
Okay.
So I want to take
because you want to leave money back in the money in the company.
I want to you want margin to hire people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to scale.
Exactly. Yeah. So in the beginning, people say, oh, I make $200,000 a year. I'm going to buy this company with $200,000 of profit.
But you're taking every dollar out of the company.
You're taking every dollar out of the company.
Yeah.
You want to buy a company with $400,000, what's called SDE. And then what that allows you to do is it allows you to have enough for multiple partners.
Yep.
It allows you to have margin, and it allows you to have operating to hire.
Yeah.
To hire a manager. And I'll pause there, but we can also talk about how to structure these deals and get them no money down, because I come into these deals and I help the other partners buy it with $0 down.
Yeah. That, and even just structuring it in seller finance in general, even with, let's say, 10% down, what is the most common, interest rate or, term time, like, hey, balloon payment in 5 years, balloon payment in 10 years, like, how does that type of thing work? And then my last question, not my last question, but another question along that vein is, it's funny too, because like a week ago or something, somewhere along the way I was talking about like buying companies, right? And somebody, like a skeptic, was basically like, Austin, like, if like, why do people sell companies, basically was the moral of the story. He's like, if the company's profitable and the owner's making money, like, who in the right mind would sell it? Right, yeah.
Yeah, because guess what? They don't want to be a freaking business owner.
Yeah.
They are 67 years old. They want to go to the freaking Florida Keys with their wife, and they want to go make love on the freaking beach and watch the sunset. That's what they want to do. And seller finance is cool because you can go to that same seller and be like, hey, Gary.
Right.
I know a lot of Garys in this position. But Gary, dude, literally, people could take this, and this is the seller finance conversation. It's not, hey, are you open to seller finance? First off, you just want to have a conversation with them, and you want to see, like, what do you care about? Why are you ask them, why are you selling it? What matters to you? And you say, Gary, this is their first time selling a business also.
Right.
You say, when you sell this company to me for $2 million, you're going to get $2 million in your bank account. You know what's going to happen next? 37% of that goes to Trump and taxes.
Yep.
The U.S. government. So do you really want to have like 1.4 million, 1.5 million?
And then you have zero income the day after that.
And you have zero income after that.
Yep.
Or what we can do is I could pay you out over 10 years. I could pay you out over 15 years. Dude, what we do is we just figure out what's the timeline that matters for them.
Right.
If you have a 60-year-old seller versus a 70-year-old versus an 80-year-old, we had 80-year-old sellers to say, hey, my brother in Christ, I will be dead.
Yeah.
We have to do a 5-year note.
Yep.
Right? So it's all negotiable. But what you want to do is you want to structure it to where you can say, hey, Gary, how about instead I just pay you low and slow monthly payments that are steady, pure passive income into your bank account so that you can go have your lifestyle funded completely, not lift a finger.
Yep.
And you don't have to get hit with this massive tax bill. What that also incentivizes is that Gary now will take your freaking phone call when you have an issue with the business.
Right.
If they don't do seller financing, so that's why we always try to negotiate at least 5 to 10% seller financing in a deal, just so that the seller still has some skin in the game.
Yep.
So that they'll take our call.
Right.
Right.
The last thing you want is them changing their friggin' number and
out the gate, and that happens.
I mean? Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm gonna stay on 6 months, help you transition the team, bullshit.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they're out.
Yeah. So another thing that we can talk about really quickly is somebody says, okay, well, this guy Brian is on this podcast talking about buying $1 million company. Who am I to run $1 million company, and
Right.
how can I afford that?
Yeah, people who don't believe that they even have the ability to do it.
Yeah, so first off, I would say a good exercise for people to do is to take out your notes app on your phone or take out a piece of paper and write down all of your professional accomplishments over the last 3 years. So it's like, I hired this person, I managed this person, I did this expense report, I helped save the company $200,000 on the P&L. Like, we're all doing stuff. We're getting paid in our corporate jobs to become business owners.
Right.
We're getting paid to learn this stuff. What a mental reframe, right? Instead of being stuck in this corporate prison, you're like, man, they're just paying me. I'm in entrepreneurship school, right? And so when you do put all that down on paper, you realize you're like, I do have this. And it's super important. When you're buying a company, you buy for the opposite of your strength. So I'm good at sales and marketing. That was my job.
Yep.
I buy a company that's operationally sound because I'm not great at operations.
Unless you have a partner.
Yes, correct. Right. So I'm buying something, and also through partnership.
Sure.
So I'm going to buy that company that's operationally sound.
Yep.
I come in and help with sales and marketing. The vice versa also applies. We have a lot of engineers, a lot of accountants. They're really great at systems and ops. Buy a company that's already great in sales and marketing.
Sure.
So you don't want to do two new at a time.
Yep.
So what we do is, you go buy these companies, and at the end of the day, like, you're able to negotiate all the different stuff. And what we're looking for, again, is that if you have $200,000 in take home, then that's $400,000 of profit.
Yep.
And can you remind me of the question again? I lost my train of thought a bit.
I think it was just, obviously the skeptic who is like, how do I don't believe in myself.
Okay, yeah, how to fund the deal.
Yep, how to fund the deal.
Cool, so podcast edit. So how to fund the deal. So now you have somebody that doesn't believe that they can buy a business. So first off, the way that you know you're ready for something is when you say that you're not. Because you don't learn until you do it.
Right.
You don't know how to change a tire until you actually have a flat tire. And then you go YouTube it and you can figure out how to change a tire, right?
Yep.
So people are way more qualified to buy a business than they think. So now how to fund the deal. Somebody says, okay, $1 million business, I need to bring $100,000 down. I don't have $100,000. Cool, I'm out of the game. Wrong. Businesses are the easiest thing to bring capital partners in on, even easier than real estate. Why is this? Because for me, as a capital partner in a lot of business deals, most of mine I buy, I'm the capital.
Yep.
If I invest in a piece of real estate, I'm getting an 8% preferred return over 5 years with maybe a 2x multiple on my money at the end of 5 years. God willing, fingers crossed. With a business, I could take that same $100,000 and I could give it to this person that brings me the deal. And what I do is I put 10% down. I'm going to take 12 to 15% equity in the deal and then 12 to 15% share of the profit because I'm taking the risk for them and they're not putting their money in.
Yep.
It's me. And it's their first deal most of the time. And so I get that extra little buffer. And so I'm buying $1 million company for $100,000 down. I instantly arbitrage an extra 20 to 50% equity and profit.
Yeah.
And I'm shooting out 30%, 40% minimum cash on cash return year one. That $100K is putting me off $30,000, $40,000. That first kitchen hood cleaning company, I put $90K down. I get $4,000 a month passive in my bank account today.
Wow.
Every first of the month, every single month. $4,000 a month. Like, that is insane. And so what is somebody on the flip side of that, they can say, hey, okay, I want to buy this deal. It's normally like two people. So how we structure the deal is kind of in a deal triangle, right?
Yep.
So you have the money, the knowledge, and the hustle. So the knowledge is going to be somebody that you're bringing in that, to your point, I need help with operations. I need help with sales. I need help with marketing. Somebody that's coming in that has that kind of role. So you need an operations person, you need a sales and marketing top line person, so bottom line and top line, and you need the capital.
Sure.
So every single deal that I've done is that triangle to where I'm the capital, and then I say, hey, I want to be purely passive, and then I have got a sales partner, and I've got an ops partner. And then most of the time we structure it to where they both get $100,000 plus salaries in the deal, and I get my cool passive paycheck. And then they own and they maintain 85% of the deal. The max that I've taken on a deal is 19%.
Yeah.
So I try to keep it beneath 19% to avoid the PG.
Yep.
Yep.
Favorite industry, if you had to pick one. Do you like home services?
Home services, yeah. Anything that's just boring and you're asking the question, how the hell do you make this much money this sloppily?
Right.
You know, you're like, what?
Yeah.
So for instance, like that last company we bought, I'll give you two of them. So the kitchen hood, the first one, the kitchen hood, $1 million a year, zero marketing.
Right.
Word of mouth.
Yeah.
Insane. They just sit around and wait for the leads to call. Mm-hmm. What, have you heard of a sales rep? Insane. And then now this Alaska tourism company for $500,000 of profit, 1.9 top line, they don't operate in the summer.
Right.
Owner just doesn't feel like it. They just only operate in the winter. I'm not going to Alaska during the winter. I don't know. Like, I want to go during the summer. Mm-hmm. So we'd have an entire season that's not even operational. We're doing 1.9. So I'm like, I buy a business that is succeeding in spite of itself.
Yeah.
And then I come in, I'm like, okay, cool. How can this be stupid simple on the back of a napkin? Mm-hmm. That's the industry that I want. So good service, sustainable, and stupid simple.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you recommend people buy their first business in the state that they live in?
Yep. Yeah. 1,000%. Within 90 minutes of driving.
Cool.
Between either you or an operating partner. Mm-hmm. Emphasis on operating partner. I buy every business with the partners first and the operators first, then the business.
Sure.
Because people online, for some reason, made it really popular, the idea that you are going to buy a company and just go hire somebody to come in and run the company for you. That is the single most difficult hire that you will make as a business owner ever. Mm-hmm. And you're going to say that's going to be your first hire? You haven't even hired a VA.
Right.
So don't do that. Like, I start my partnerships first. I say, I'm good at sales. Mm-hmm. You're good at marketing. Chocolate, meat, peanut butter, Reese's cup.
Yep.
Let's go buy a freaking business. And then you go buy a business together. And then you're both on the cap table. I like that. That's how it has personally worked for me, and that's how I mitigate my risk.
Yeah, I love it. I know you have a bunch of podcasts today, so I want to shift gears real quick because it's already 10:25, cool. And talk about real estate for a second. Cool. So what do what is your mission now? You know, obviously you're buying these different companies. You own, a handful of companies, 6 companies, mm-hmm. right? What talk to me about, like, for every how many companies do you buy a piece of real estate? Is there kind of a formula that you have, or?
We're about to start again.
Okay.
So I sold my residential portfolio when I started my first company.
You had long-term, short-term?
Yeah, I had long-term.
Okay.
Like single-family rentals. I did co-living.
Yep.
So I was just buying a house a year.
Yep.
Like when I was in my corporate job, because that's how I thought that you get out of your job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I sold all of those, pocketed a lot of equity.
Yep.
So I pocketed like $300,000 after like realtor fees and everything.
That's
so
great.
They appreciated well.
Yep.
And I used that as like seed money to start my companies.
Cool.
From a position of like strength, not scarcity. And so now I keep dumping my money back into businesses, mm-hmm. but it's time to diversify, because concentration gets you rich. Diversification keeps you rich.
Mm. Yeah.
So I'm super concentrated on my revenue and my cash flow, but cash flow is what you invest for first. Mm-hmm. Then you invest for equity. But now I've got my cash flow, and now it's time to start doing the equity plays again.
Sure.
So my poison, like industries that I really like, I'm not going to do single family unless it's a short-term rental, just like in an area that I like.
Mm-hmm. Just because the cash flow doesn't make sense in the current market condition, or what?
Yeah, it's just not my jam anymore. Like a million ways to make $1 million. Like you make like wholesaling residential, right? And like selling residential. Like for me, I like commercial because I can force appreciation so much faster and force equity. So like right now I'm going from here to Minnesota to one of my business partners has got a lot of multifamily and storage. Yep. Then I'm going to Miami to look at a new boutique development deal that we're doing, where it's going to be 20 like Bali style bungalows and experiential hospitality.
Oh, that'll be cool.
So that's my jam is like, I'm going to start dumping all of our profits into experiential hospitality and resorts. Mm-hmm. I really like that. That's like my sexy play that I'm really passionate about.
Sure.
And I just want to create wow experiences for people. Like I think that you were on like Rich Summers' show.
I haven't been on Rich's yet, but he invited me on and the timing just didn't work.
You should go on Rich's.
I had my flight booked and then something came up and I had to cancel.
Rich is a cool guy. Yeah. So he does boutique hotels.
Yep.
Boutique hotels, experiential hospitality, love that. We love residential assisted living.
Yeah.
So we're going to start investing heavily into that sector. Mm-hmm. And then next one is going to be like 10 box industrial triple net lease stuff. So it's just like can you get like a contractor garage or something? Just like some freaking sheet metal boxes, industrial.
Sure.
Like, we like that. So that's where we're going to start deploying all of our funds upcoming.
Couple more questions on the business stuff, just because I'm just thinking about them right now. Do you think that laundromats and car washes are overplayed?
Yeah. Yeah, because they're sold as they're packaged as like a purely passive play. But man, as somebody that's also a fellow entrepreneur, I'll say right now, the fastest way to win is to in today's market especially, is to not be the guy or girl that's looking to passively build passive income.
Right.
You need to actively build passive income. So people are buying the car washes and laundromats because they're like, oh, I'm working a job and I don't really want to quit. I just want something passive on the side.
Right.
It's not like that, dude.
No.
You're going to have someone overdose on heroin. I was under contract on a freaking laundromat, and then somebody overdosed on heroin, and we had to have the police clean the body out.
Right.
That's a laundromat.
Yep.
So the problems don't go away. They're still there. And so I think they're completely overplayed right now. And also, there's not much equity and appreciation that you can force in those deals because they're so like,
it's not infinitely scalable, right? I mean, you can only get so many people to do their laundry.
Correct. And car washes too. Everyone and their mother and sisters buying a car wash. What I would look for is that like construction company.
Yeah, HVAC, plumbing.
Yeah.
Pest control. Do you like stuff like that?
Pest control. Yeah, I want something without a license if I can.
Okay.
Because for instance, for a plumbing company. So I used to sell uniforms in my corporate job.
Yep.
So it's like, I know plumbers, I know HVAC like the back of my freaking hand. And those guys, to be honest, if you're underwriting the actual people, say that you go buy a plumbing company, right? You haven't touched a toilet in your life.
Yeah,
or a pipe.
sure.
And you go buy a plumbing company, they got 4 employees, and they're doing, $800,000 a year. You don't know nothing about plumbing.
Right.
They're not going to respect you. They're going to be like, look at you got soft hands, brother.
Right. Literally.
They're not going to respect you. So, I mean, I would only buy one of those companies if I had somebody on my team or an operating partner that had experience in that trade.
Yep.
Especially like HVAC, electrical, stuff like that. But besides that, like service businesses like painting, like home services, stuff like that, that's not a specialty trade. Yeah, give me that all day.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it too, because you're absolutely right. I mean, getting employees to respect you, especially in those types of roles, they're just not going to if you haven't ever done it.
Oh yeah, and that's
they're going to be like, oh, cool, like you got deep pockets, like you bought this company, but like we don't give a crap what you say.
Yeah, and
you're going to struggle with that.
Yeah, and I think a good piece of closing advice for people is what nobody talks about on the podcast, which is, hey, what happens when you actually buy the business?
Right.
Because now you're a business owner, and that's where everyone just magically stops the conversation because no one wants to talk about that stuff. So here's a good piece of advice, just to make it as simple as possible. Cool. 90-day roadmap.
Yep.
30, 60, 90 after you close a business. You get the business, and the main objective is what you just said. You want people to respect you. So you don't get respect by coming in, banging your chest, and saying all the things that you're going to change day one.
Yep.
The employees are terrified. Like, they don't even know if they're going to have a job with you. So all that you do is you just shut up and you get curious. Think of yourself like a freaking 5th grader. Like, you're asking why and you're asking how.
Yeah.
Constantly. Like, why do we do this? How do we do this? Walk me through this. What do you mean? Tell me more.
Yep.
And you have one-on-ones with all of your employees, and you roll your sleeves up and you help them do like the boring menial tasks. Before you work on the business, you work completely in it for 90 days.
I love that.
That's how you earn their respect. Because you're rolling up your sleeves and you're getting on the truck with them. And you're helping them with stuff, and you're asking questions. You're really getting to know them and the business. And then they're going to start telling you things about the business that the other previous owner wasn't listening to. And then they're going to feel seen and heard. And then when you do roll things out 90 days later, don't touch anything for 90 days.
Yeah.
But 90 days later, when you do roll things out, then that's the employee's idea. They're bought in. And so now it's a collaborative effort to where now the employees are like, wow, like he really listened to me. She really listened to me. And that's how you earn respect.
Yep. And now they're excited about the new ownership.
And now
at
they're
that point.
excited about it.
They're excited about the future.
Yeah, and you sell to them all the different ways that it's going to benefit them, improve their lives, improve their workflow, make their jobs, and make their lives easier. You just get to know them. It's just how to win friends, influence people.
Totally.
Period. And then you do that for 90 days, and then you can start implementing one by one the different things.
Phenomenal. Brian, I could talk to you all day, bro. We'll have to do it again for sure.
Absolutely.
I know you got to interview me, and then you got a couple after that. So we'll leave it there. That was a lot of value in a very short amount of time. Where can people find you if they want to join your academy, if they want to learn from you, if they want to partner with you? How do they get a hold of you?
Man, I'll give them the worst sales pitch they've ever heard. We give it all away for free on the podcast.
Yeah.
Go listen to Action Academy podcast. We do it every day for freaking 3.5 years now. And then you're about to be on the show as well. So we got good guests, guys.
Cool.
Quality proven right here. We have got hundreds of hours of this stuff on the show. Go listen to some episodes, see if it's a vibe, get some information, take some action. And if you want your handheld doing it and you want access to capital partners, mentors, all that, that's our thing. Yep. But you can find it all through the podcast.
Incredible.
So it's Action Academy Podcast, and I'm just online at Brian Luebben everywhere. It's just my name.
Brian, I appreciate you being on.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. Hey, if you're still watching, if you're on Spotify, make sure you leave a review. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. Thank you again. We'll see you in the next one.